everyone, and welcome back to Obas Trending Gist. Today we are diving into a hot topic that's got Nigeria buzzing: the massive infrastructure drive under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. We'll be looking at a segment from Arise News Morning Show where a prominent opposition figure, Segun Showunmi, offers his surprising take on Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and other projects. Is this a moment of national unity for development, or are there deeper questions to be asked? Let's get into it, so sit back and take a watch.
The administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has undertaken numerous projects as he continues to fulfill his renewed hope mandate. One of the landmark projects his achievement has embarked on since he became president is the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. The federal government has recently approved an additional 100 kilometers to the coastal highway so that it can pass through Edo State, South Nigeria. This brings the total length of the highway to 800 kilometers and the number of states covered to 9. David Umahi, Nigeria's Minister of Works, disclosed this last week at an Independence Gala night hosted by the Edo State government at the State Villa at the Government House, Benin City, on October 1, 2025. The initial condemnation by various opposition leaders during the commencement of the project has subsided. We've seen some opposition party members openly throw their support for Tinubu's second-term bid. Joining us to give us a first-hand account of the administration's infrastructural development initiatives is Segun Showunmi, a captain of the People's Democratic Party. Good morning, Segun. Good morning.
Yeah, Doctor, good morning. How are you getting ready for your 60th? Here are you. Good morning. Congrats on the twins.
Thank you.
Rufai, my man, good morning. It's nice to be here.
Morning, sir.
Thank
Bless
you.
You're welcome.
Well, Chief Segun Showunmi, it's very good to see you now on the screen here to defend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom you have spoken glowingly about in some other circumstances. And now, you know, we're talking about infrastructure development, and you have been quoted around here to say that indeed that paragraph in President Tinubu's 68th Independence Anniversary address is something to be applauded. Maybe you have been misquoted, but the main thing is Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and infrastructure development. Are you impressed with the infrastructural development efforts of the administration, or you have certain misgivings?
Well, thank you, Doctor. Let me put some context to it, because sometimes in this country, people can easily tie everybody with one brush. I have by no means joined his government, and I'm not speaking for him. What had happened in this particular instance is that I had sat in one of the salons in Abuja having a haircut, and I listened to the agony of some young people talk a lot about the Maraba Road. And I then said, okay, maybe I'll ask. And I sent a text to the minister to say, sir, I would like to give you some feedback and ask you some questions. He phoned up and then said, oh, he was on his way out of town, but if I didn't mind, we could reschedule. Then he changed his mind and said, would it even be okay if I came to Lagos to look at the coastal road? Since he's aware that I've been screaming about the Sokoto-Badagry road because of his, significant importance. And I said, okay, why not? We could do that. And then he said, you may come with 2 or 3 other people that you think would also be able to add value or at least see things. So at that point in time, I decided, okay, why not if not? I believe in the concept of building consensus around development. Politics aside, building consensus around development. So I said, okay, I invited some of our friends, Yemi Kolakpo of The Point. I invited Femi Awoyemi, and they all have big stature in terms of competence, capacity, and also intellect and integrity. And I invited Egbonshe Kende, because I thought, okay, there will be a bit for a soft sell angle, at least stylize the conversation. Let them come and look at it with me. When we got there, the first thing we noticed is that our cross-board opinion was that the minister has very great people skill. He was willing to say, okay, come and take a look at it, hacked all the hard questions, get an idea of what we're doing and all. We thought we were there. Well, the thing I will first say to the Nigerian people is that, look, we're the owners of our country and we have no reason whatsoever to hate our country. And yes, the glass may be not full, but our glass cannot certainly be empty. The scale of that project was wow, was totally wowing. If you've ever been to any of the coastal cities in the world, like, you know, Dubai and some of the areas where they have big coastal economy, one of the things they would have had to do, which we are now doing, is to build a coastal infrastructure that can give them a bit of an opportunity to drive fast, aside driving fast, also have the opportunity of a coastal economy that gives you resorts, waterfronts, and all of that. The scale of that project is such that I asked all the hard questions. Why are we using concrete and not asphalt? The minister said, because this will last longer. Once you build it, it gives you a guarantee of about 100 years, and you're going to have to go back to it again. I asked another question. What is the depth? At a point, I put my hand in one of the places, and it could go almost up to a reasonable, really, really deep. Then I said, okay, why are you using so much steel? Eventually, from the MD of High Tech, I realized that although we call it a road, it's actually like saying you are laying a bridge all over the place. And then I wanted to see which of the areas it was touching. So I realized that they were doing the construction on many fronts. The Lagos end was going, the Ondo end was on, the Calabar end was on, and then we drove around all of it. I saw the linkage to the Dangote Road, to where the refinery is. I then asked him, sir, I can see that this is working and I know it will work well. How about the southeast? Are we going to, is there nothing to connect them to it? Look, doctor, I am not on his payroll, I will not be. I'm not on president's payroll, I will not be. I only believe that there comes a time in the life of a nation where the owners of the nation, the citizens of their nation, must now begin to give themselves the opportunity to see their nation either as a work in progress. If there are areas where we want to say, okay, why don't we look at this and this, we can give ourselves the chance of saying that we're building something. Especially, the world has changed, only that if you're not observant, you won't see it. All the nations of the world, you heard what Kemi was saying a couple of minutes ago. You've heard what the Americans are saying. Every nation now is falling back into their nationalistic default mode. So for us as Nigerians, politics and party by the side, we need to create some time for us to actually see development move. And there's an argument on the table that the world has seen. Okay. China, Indonesia, Taiwan, and all of those nations that have leapfrogged. What was the critical thing that made it happen for them? Aside all of the integrity, honesty, and all the other good values. Right. The most important thing we see is that their stakeholders in the country, they seem to have built consensus around development. Okay. And the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, by every stretch of imagination, is a fantastic vision, and I think they will deliver it on time.
Okay, it's so exciting and interesting to hear you speak glowingly of this project. So you're putting politics aside to focus on infrastructural development of this administration. Just to check, you're still with the PDP, right, sir?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So is this your view? Is it personal or the view of the party as well? That politics aside, this administration.
A couple of months ago, I created a platform a couple of months ago called the Alternative Movement. I created the Alternative Movement because I began to believe very strongly that we weary ourselves in this country with our own self-hate and self-denial of some of our little effort. And then I decided that why don't we look for a middle ground? If we see something we need to be improved, we'll bring it to the notice and we'll say this must be improved. But if we see what we're doing that we need to scale up and continuously work on, we do. Look at the Sokoto-Badagry Road. It's ironic that road has been on the pipeline since 1979. That's about 46 years ago.
All right.
If we had been building consensus around development, that road would have been done.
Wow, that was quite the opening from Segun Showunmi. He starts by acknowledging the administration's Renew Hope mantra and specifically highlights the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. What's striking is his personal account of inspecting the project, emphasizing the use of concrete for longevity, a 100-year guarantee, as he puts it, and the extensive engineering involved, likening it to building a bridge. He makes a deliberate point about setting politics aside for national development, even bringing along other public figures to witness the project's scale. His observation about the project extending across multiple states, including connections to key economic hubs like the Dangote refinery, paints a picture of comprehensive development. He also touches on how some initial opposition has quieted down, suggesting a growing recognition of the project's potential impact. It is a nuanced perspective from an opposition chieftain, focusing on technical merits and potential benefits rather than political grandstanding. Now, let's delve into the second part of the interview where the host pressed Showunmi on some critical questions, including project's cost and environmental impact. Just sit back and take a watch.
Okay, thank you. So how about the criticisms? I know you've come out to speak about the positives. Some of the criticisms of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. I mean, we've talked about the cost, that it is exorbitant. I mean, you look at how much per kilometer is being spent, about, 4 billion conservatively per kilometer. We've also looked at the environmental impact and the compensation or lack of for people whose lands had to be taken in order to pave way for the road, especially investors in diaspora and even in Nigeria who lost their investment without much compensation. So I hear you for the infrastructure, but how about the way in which it was done and some of the criticism around cost of the project itself, maybe misplaced priority in light of the other things that happened? Thank you very much.
One of the things that happened during that Thank you very much. One of the things that happened during that trip was that area where some woman had said she had put in some infrastructure to the tune of $250,000 or $1 million and all that was one of the places where I wanted to see. First of all, to find whether there's evidence that there was infrastructure there. Secondly, to find out evidence whether by the normal rule of what you call the median rule, the direction between the median and the, what you must set back, and of course, the Land Use Act. I wanted to see whether she had really been infringed or she had been treated badly. Look, we must be careful not to believe that all the countries we go to don't sometimes go through reformation. Anyone who knows Britain a bit and knows the Peckham, Camberwell, Brixton area will be amazed at how it has been renewed. For every renewal and any urban renewal to take place, it has to take place at the cost of some, pushback. And when you're pushing people back, what you want to do is you want to make sure that nobody is taking advantage of government to make demands that are unjustifiable, unquantifiable, and unreasonable, almost bordering on fraud. I saw that. There was nothing there. And I think what they need to really do is actually charge her to court or get the people that she has taken money from in Europe to put her on the cabinet and take her to court to come and justify what she did with whatever money she claims she has done there. But that's that. The second thing I saw was that, you see, we must be careful not to assume that all of our glamorization of corruption in our country has not been the reason why everywhere we go we don't want to see value. I asked them a question while we were there. I said, how are we going to fund this? I hear we're getting carbon credits. In terms of environmental impact assessment, I said, okay, what about the environmental impact assessment? And then High-Tech said, we were the ones that did the Eco-Atlantic City, and it's standing, and nothing has happened to it. So this same technology is what we're doing. So don't worry, the environment, it will stand for the number of years it's meant to stand. Then I asked another question, how are we going to fund this? This is expensive. And then they said, okay, I don't know what, I can't put it in exact word, but there was something to the effect that once they do one part, IFC, with their own scrutiny and all that, gives them back the money of the ones that they've done and they've justified. I also found out that, yes, when you compare it to the global average of how much they are doing coastal roads, perhaps ours is the cheapest. But you know what I always say to people? Let us accept that while they are in charge, we can't be the one auditing them on the job. Our duty is to insist that that which they say they want to do gets done. And then it will be the duty of some other people to audit them and be sure that they have not shortchanged. And if they have, there will be more than enough rules in our laws in our book to punish them. But you can't insist that nothing will be built only because you're afraid that they're taking money. That's madness.
Mr. Segun Showunmi, great to have you. You said we should audit them. But when we try to audit them, another group of people will come out and say we shouldn't do our jobs. I asked the minister on this same show you were sitting on, what's the cost per kilometer? He struggled before he told me the answer of the cost per kilometer. And I wanted it for every kilometer. That's the auditing that we're talking about. We talked about the drainage of the coastal road. We talked about people that their lives were destroyed. Take, for instance, you said they should charge the woman to courts. And I shudder. Because, Mr. Segun Showunmi, you don't have the facts of the case. Do you know that Minister Umahi violated court order? Do you know that there's a court dispute in the Federal High Court FHCLAMC 1803-2024, which centers on allegation of trespass and a least key defendant, including the Ministry of Work, Federal Ministry of Work, High-Tech Construction, Commissioner of Justice. She describes the minister's action as a blatant show of disregard for the rule of law and abuse of power. So the same woman has said they should charge the court. She already charged them to court from Winsome Homes, and they violated the court order. Secondly, what is the accountability threshold of all these projects? Look at the East-West Road, still largely in very bad shape. These are the questions we keep asking in this country. We can't just push it away just like that. Till today, we have also challenged the minister to show us the environmental impact assessment that was done before the project started. These were questions that we are asking. So the accountability you are calling for, we are asking the questions today. Did he show you?
Now, okay, Rufai, thank you. No one should push or harass or resist people like you who want to put their feet to the fire. But you also must understand, no nation will be developed if everyone who can put a lawyer together insists that legal obstacle will be the thing that allows vision not to move. I'm sure that if the case is in court, it will be sub judice, and I'm not interested in the facts of it. They can deal with that with their lawyers. What interests me and what should interest you is that close your eyes for a second and try to imagine if you have that coastal road running all the way, and you have the linkage from Imoahia and all of the other areas where they're going to connect to. I was so insistent that we were not developing one part and leaving all the other parts. And on that alone, the minister ended up taking me to go and see projects in Edo, taking me to go and see projects, because I kept asking, what about the Southeast? What about the Southeast? And he took me to go and see in Enugu, to go and see project in Abia. Because, look, we can all accept that if we choose democracy, elections will come in circles. When we have done one noisy circle, which our own is, including all of the disturbances of going to court and all of that and all that, we must of our own, especially you people who are really the watchtowers, if you like, the watchtower of society, you must insist also that hate, anger, everything is not good, our eyes are too dirty and too black, the glass is empty, cannot be the constant narrative. Because at the end of the day, we keep forgetting that the space we call Nigeria, which we are using now, did not appear on Earth in 1960. It has been here since the beginning of mankind. And humans have been in this country, including all of your fancy empires and fancy traditional institutions and stories. If our ancestors had been building in audacious manner, we won't be admiring others and living our own. So the audacity of the project is the thing that I know. And then guess what? It also has a rail too, rail in between. So you can almost tell that they'll be able to move people on land and they'll be able to move people on rail. Hey, am I the auditors? No. Am I the spectators? No. I've just gone to do my part.
Thank you for
as
your
a
part.
Nigerian who believes very strongly that we must build consistent, we must agree what the development model is and then run quickly with it.
That second segment truly unpacked the complexities. Showunmi reiterated his personal stance, separate from his party, emphasizing a need to move past self-hate and self-denial about Nigeria's progress. However, the interview took a sharp turn when the host, particularly Rufai Oseni, brought up critical points. The exorbitant cost of the highway, 4 billion naira per kilometer, potential environmental impact, and crucial, the alleged lack of adequate compensation for displaced investors. Showunmi strongly refuted claims of fraud regarding one woman's alleged infrastructure, but Rufai quickly countered with details of a court case against the Minister of Works, alleging disregard of the rule of law. This exchange highlights a fundamental tension: the need for development versus the imperative for transparency, accountability, and adherence to due process. Showunmi's call for insisting on projects getting done and then auditing them later while understanding from a developmental perspective clashes with the immediate concern about legality and the fairness raised by the interviewers. So what's my take on this whole discussion. It is clear that Nigeria is at a critical juncture where grand vision for infrastructure are being laid out. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, as detailed as Showunmi, truly sounds like a transformative project with the potential to boost economic growth and connect various regions. His emphasis on quality construction, like the use of concrete for longevity, is commendable and speaks to a desire for lasting impact. However, the concern raised by the host, especially regarding the project's cost, environmental impact, and the allegations of disregard for court orders in compensating displaced citizens, cannot be brushed aside. While it's important not to let cynicism halt progress, it's equally crucial to uphold principle of transparency and accountability. Rufai Oseni's persistence in questioning the cost per kilometer and the lack of an environmental impact assessment before commencement highlights a valid demand for due diligence. The issue of compensation for those whose livelihood or properties are affected is paramount and must be handled with utmost fairness and adherence to the law. True national development isn't just about building magnificent structures, it's also about ensuring equitable processes, respecting human rights, and fostering public trust. The conversation shows that while there might be a growing consensus on the need for development, there is still a significant debate on how that development should be executed, a debate that is essential for Nigeria's long-term prosperity and stability. That's it for now on Obas Trending Gist. What are your thoughts on this complex issue? Share your comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more trending discussion. Until next time, stay informed.